Hello, everybody. I know y'all haven't seen this face in several weeks now, but look, we had to take a day off one weekend. I chose to get sick on the second weekend. Then I follow that up by going hunting on the third weekend. So sorry about that. But your sexy is back. Don't worry, I'm back in the house. This week, we're having a return guest from 2 weeks prior of an interview, by the way, that I did miss out on. Sorry about that. But I'm here for this one here today. And as always,
And as always, he's following it up with freezing. We want to thank you for stopping into the Written Undead. Welcome our guest, Joshua Shapiro. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great.
I really
Thank
are
you.
Good.
this week. Fix
All
myself
right,
again
now Jack's
here.
back.
Yeah. First time it's ever happened during the intro. Sorry about that. We are
Yes.
back again. As always, I'm joined by Richard Ryan Rose, Jennifer Amato, Potato, Amato. Who cares? She's here and she's doing well. Our special guest for the second time in 1 month, the one and only Joshua Shapiro, CS Explorer. How are you doing today, you Atlanta Braves loving man?
Well, I actually am a Chicago Cub fan, but I live in Atlanta, so I have to honor the place I live in. I'm doing very well, thank you. I don't know if I'm the one and only. I took a book out of the library called Joshua Then and Now, written by Richard Richler, who's a Canadian author, and the main character in there is Joshua Shapiro. So I had to check it out to see if any aspect of myself was in there. Sorry, not. And it
Nothing.
was made into a movie too. And what's his name? Woods played Joshua Shapiro. I forget his first name. But I looked at this actor, and his birthday is only one day after mine, so it made sense that he would play Joshua Shapiro. So
Okay. Well, now, apparently, the last interview, we weren't able to get everything that we needed to get out of you. You were like a lemon that still had some squeeze left in it. So let's get the
really,
squeezing a little bit tighter. Let's see what more juice we can get up out of here. Now, first thing, backstage, you had mentioned something to me about having a joke that you didn't get to tell.
oh, that's right. It's a Jewish joke, and I
That's okay.
actually. I actually told this joke to some actors I met when I was in Chicago. They said I did a pretty good job. So here's the joke. So there's a father, there's a priest, and there's a rabbi. And they're having a conversation talking about how they decide what portion of the money they receive from their congregation they give to God and what they keep. So the father says, "Well, this is what I do. I draw a line in the ground. I take all the money, throw it up into the air. Whatever lands on one side, I keep. The other side, I give to God." And the priest says, "Well, I do something similar. I draw a circle in the throw all the money up in the air. Whatever lands inside, I keep. Outside, I give to God." Now, I don't know if any of you have ever met a rabbi. I was brought up Jewish, so I know rabbis. I actually had some people think I should have been a rabbi, but I didn't follow that path, of course. And all the rabbis, they have beards like me, but they're much longer. They're kind of like what Jack has. And, they're stroking it and they're not giving you an answer right away. And this is what
Mm-mm.
the rabbi's doing with the father and the priest. And then he goes, "You know what, you guys? You're doing it all wrong. What you should do is take all the money you have, throw it up in the air, and let God take what he wants."
Yes, that is a good joke. I am sorry. I don't care if anybody got offended.
That's a good one.
Get
I
over it.
like it.
Look,
Well, it's the Jewish way of thinking, I guess. So it makes
hey,
sense to
Yeah.
me.
I
for
like
for the haters, they can get glad in the same pants they got mad in. So
it.
that was a good joke. That cracked me up.
That's the
That was a
best
good
one
one.
I know. So,
All right. So now, one of the things that we know about you is you are deep into paranormal. Anything paranormal, you are a go-to guy for that. So, give us some of your favorite paranormal experiences.
okay. Well, before we do that, there's a possibility that there could be some people watching that may not totally understand what are we talking about with the paranormal. So, give me an opportunity to try to explain it a little bit. Because
Go for it.
I already knew you were going to ask me about this, and I kind of had in my mind kind of the direction to go. So the paranormal starts with God or creator. And why I say this is because everything that exists comes through the creator. All right. I guess we could all believe that. We may not understand what is the process that makes our world possible and other dimensions possible and parallel Earths possible and other universes and other vibrational frequencies, but it all stems from creator. Now, I think, although the paranormal doesn't talk about this, that the key concept to understand the paranormal is you need to understand that everything that exists. I mean, this was when I started to study the paranormal back in 1980s. It was called New Age or occult or metaphysical, but now it's called paranormal. The one concept that came up repeatedly was that creator is everything. In other words, everything is one on every level is creator. So in other words, inside of our body is the aspect of creator. And the reason why I think this is very important is because it means every person, whether you like them or not, they're your brother and sister. And it's very crazy what's happening in our world right now. How many people who are brothers and sisters, who are part of the same family, are having difficulties and fighting and all these kind of crazy things that are going on. But this is very important because if everything is God, and I believe it's God's will that our planet, and this is going to take me into one of my most powerful paranormal experiences, that it is God's will that this planet is moving towards total peace and harmony. Even though we may not be able to see it with the things that are going on right now, my experience has been, and that's why I'm going to have to tell my experience. Otherwise, how do I believe this? Because a lot of what I'm saying is through experiences I'm having inside of myself. And when we have these experiences inside of yourself, you're not able to prove it to someone else unless they had a similar experience and they say, I know exactly what you're talking about. Okay, so we have to start with creator. So if creator has created all these dimensions and levels of existence, of which the physical level is one, okay, then what is the paranormal? The paranormal is defined as beyond the normal. What is the normal? The normal would have to be defined by what you perceive through your five physical senses. Okay. But what we perceive through our five physical senses is a minute portion of the entire reality that is around us. Because if everything is creator, then it means time and space doesn't exist either, even though in this reality, we base our life upon it. We have our experiences that have happened in the past. We're having this conversation right now, and who knows what the future holds for us. Okay, there's so many people that have different theories, whether they're supposedly respected public people that we know, or conspiracy theorists, or paranormal people, spiritual people also have visions and things about what they see that's going to come on. So the paranormal would be experiencing the other levels of reality beyond the physical senses, which I would call a spiritual experience. Okay, so
Could
for
you
me,
even would you
go
even
ahead.
consider instinct to be part of that? Like you just have that feeling in a moment,
Yeah,
I've got to do this particular thing, even though
yes.
it might not be something you would consciously think of.
Right, but it would be part of that because it's your intuition or a feeling that has no basis on your reality around you, but it's something that you know inside of yourself. So, a lot of what I'm going to be talking about related to the paranormal comes from my experiences inside, or I read or I hear something and I go, Bazoomi, that's correct. I know that's true. Okay. So, the only thing that I can do as a person who is involved in, studying the paranormal is offer my perspective and let each person listening decide. Usually, what I find, like when I talk about these subjects and I do a public presentation, there'll be two or three people. They'll be going like this the whole time. We're so much in sync with what I'm discussing. They have exactly the same view. But see, here we have, I don't know how many trillions of people that live on the earth. So we're each going to have a unique perspective of this reality and the possibility of other realities. But you're absolutely correct, Jack. I was going to say Josh, Jack,
Hey,
that
it's okay. My uncle's named John. It's just kind of the way our family names us.
okay. So, but intuition, feeling, a vision, a sensing of something, this is all, I believe, a communication of the spiritual aspect of ourselves. So, the next part of the paranormal to understand is that we are multi-dimensional beings. So, in other words, we may think, well, we're here, I can touch everything, I'm in the physical, but there are exist other bodies that we exist on simultaneously which are in other dimensions. And some people believe that when we go to sleep and we dream, that the dreams we bring back is we are experiencing those other dimensions of reality.
Oh, I am so screwed in those other dimensions of
So,
reality.
Right.
That
Jeez.
question
Karen
that I
Brothers
have
connection,
is, do
he's
you
got a fucked up life. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
We need to let the lady speak.
question that I have is, do you subscribe to the alternate universe? Is that what you're talking about? Alternate
The
realities?
multiverse.
The
Like in
The
multiverse?
multiverse, yeah, because
Okay.
what I've received, my inner message from my higher self, from spirit guides, from creator, because they're all the same basically, is that every conceivable reality that we can imagine already exists. Otherwise, we could not imagine it. That's the message that I got. So now, some of these alternative universes are similar to ours. They're on a physical level, but there are other realities that are not physical at all. Like, for example, this would be part of the paranormal. I still didn't get to my experience yet. I want to make sure we're all on the
build up,
same
man.
page with
Build up to it.
right. Um, is when I have the opportunity to speak with spiritual mediums. Okay, so a spiritual medium would be a gifted individual who has made an agreement before they were born, which means we were in spirit and we decide, hey, we want to have this experience here on the earth. So we come into a physical body, we get born. So that's reincarnation. Um, so when I talk to the mediums and I talk to the galactic beings who exist in alternative universes, which are of a higher vibrational frequency than ours, and they talk about that they understand a lot of these concepts I'm talking to you about because they experience them all the time. They understand the oneness of all things. They have a better perception of what is creator. Like some people might say, why would creator allow all this mess that we have down here? Why would creator allow so-called evil people to go kill and create wars and all that? But it's because this reality, one of the rules obviously is free will. Okay. And since I believe, and this is part of the paranormal, that we are immortal spirit, we do not die. So if something crazy happens here and we pass on, that's not the end of us. We go into another dimension and we might say, hey, I want to come back to the earth. I didn't do such a good job the last time,
Okay,
which is
now
the reincarnation.
let me ask you something. Are we talking about like a reincarnation experience when you say alternate dimension? Are we talking heaven, hell, or are we talking about something completely different?
We're talking about all those things. So, in other words, I believe that there exists a dimension that we could connect to hell, which the soul chooses to go to because it feels bad about what it's done in this lifetime. But I think that, and this came from a medium, Daryl Anka, who channels a galactic being called Bashar, says that we are creating at every moment our reality through our consciousness. So at some level, whatever experiences that we've had in this life, or we will have, we have chosen those experiences to grow and learn as a soul. Now, for some people, that doesn't make any sense because why would I choose an experience to be in an accident and lose my leg or my arm, or to have heart problem or
Or in my
problem with my
in my
teeth?
case, have blood clots and have 6 feet of my small intestine removed, and now I'm like 120 pounds.
Right.
Why would I
So
do that?
why would we choose that? Is it a balancing of something we did in another lifetime, karma? Or is it because there is a unique experience? Like maybe because of your condition, there are certain experiences you're having now which you never would have had if you were a normal person and everything was working well.
Yeah, well,
Maybe.
I was never a normal person to begin with, but
But there could be
um,
some new directions that you went into because of where you are. Like this person you were mentioning you're going to talk to. I think it has something to do with what happened to you. that you're drawn to speak to him and maybe help those people. So it's really hard to say, you know, why certain things come, but at the highest level, and I think this is part of the paranormal, our consciousness is choosing for certain experiences that we wish to have so we can grow as a soul. Now, another thing that I've heard, which I don't know if it's true or not, and after this, I'm going to stop because I think we've talked enough about the concept, is that there are many souls who are envious of us because of the experiences that we're having right now on the earth. It's like it's not common in many other places in the universe. Okay. Even though we might not understand that. I mean, like, for example, when I talk to other galactics, they say that they only have one religion on their planet, one way of looking at life. Look at the earth. How many different religions and cultures and civilizations and perceptions of reality do we have here? This is not common. And plus, also, what we are going through now, I believe, is a very unbelievable time of growth because the truth is coming out on every level, the light and the dark. Okay. Everything is coming out right now. And I don't think there are very many places that have this tremendous intensity of activities and experiences that are going on like we have here. So I'm going to go to an experience um, that I had when I lived in Las Vegas, because I think this is very powerful. And it's one of the reasons why I know we're going to have a peaceful future. So I call this my coma experience.
Well, before you do that, I want to make sure you understand your entire audience. I'm an atheist.
Okay.
So I pretty much, we were born, we live, we die.
Okay.
Dirt. That's it. So you've got a critic over here. I'm just going to tell you right up front.
That's fine.
You've got a critic over here. So man,
I
run with it.
think
I can't.
Josh is used to critics, aren't you?
I would say so by this
Oh,
point.
yeah.
You, you,
And it
you have an
doesn't bother me.
atheist, you have a Christian, you have a witch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And it doesn't bother me because we have to have free will to go with what works for us. And if we would just learn that we're not here to convince everyone that our perception is the correct one. I'm a human being. This was my experience. Maybe you buy it, maybe you don't buy it. Okay, so what I'm going to talk about is my coma experience. So it's part on the physical realm and part on the spiritual realm. So I moved to Las Vegas in 1989, and I worked with friends there to start a nonprofit spiritual foundation. And uh, so one day I was walking down one of the main streets, and you have to understand in Las Vegas, their streets in the town, you can go 50 or 55, okay, which is not normal. Usually you have to go outside of the city to drive this fast. But, they have like 6 lanes, 8 lanes, it's Las Vegas. So I hear a loud screech behind me, and I'm fearless. I always feel like I'm protected. So I keep walking. And the next thing I know, my vision goes from white to black. And 2 days later, I wake up and I'm strapped to a hospital bed. And I remember a doctor saying to me, "Do you remember the truck that hit you?" And I'm going, "What the heck is he talking about?" I'm not thinking at this moment, how did I get to the hospital? What am I doing in a bed? I'm just like, I'm awake and I'm being asked this ridiculous question. And then I
Yeah.
lost consciousness again.
Yeah. You're facing the question in front of you.
Right. And then I woke up for real the next day. So 3 days later. And then what was explained to me is while I'm walking on this very busy street, a van jumps the curb behind me, hits me. I fly up in the air by a gravel area. The van hits a light post and they find me there. Okay. And the other problem I had at this time is I was kind of lazy because I hadn't been in Las Vegas very long. I didn't change my California driver's license to a Nevada one. So they didn't know who to contact for me. Okay. It's like, who is this guy? Where does he live? So I was basically there for 3 days. And this is what I remember happening to me. Again, I can't prove it, but every time I think about the experience, this is what I see in my mind's eye. So what happened is before I was born, I agreed to attend a meeting that is not on the earth level. Okay. And this happened to be the time frame when that meeting was going to take place. Now, when I say take place, it may have no meaning because it existed in a different dimension. And I know that even though I was gone for 3 days in the physical, wherever I was there for a very long time. I could have been there for months or years. I have no clue. But it just felt like when I go there, there was a lot of information I needed to collect, I needed to bring back. It was almost like what some people might call a temporary death experience, except I didn't die, I was in a coma. Okay, but it was very similar. I
And
was
we've heard
gone.
a lot of people, a lot of stories over the years of people in comas having experiences.
Right,
Having visions that wouldn't be normal to them in their regular day to
exactly.
day lives.
Right. So I had to be in a coma and I had to have somebody take care of me because I was totally gone. But the spirits that were in the hospital, they saw an empty body and that's why I was strapped down because my body was jerking around and doing all kinds of weird stuff, according to the doctor. And it was because I had to be totally gone, the essence of who I was, and going to this meeting. So this is all I can remember about this meeting. And I'll explain to you why I don't remember a lot of it. It's like, when you look at a film of a movie and you see a single frame, that's all I can remember are single frames of where was I. So, what I remember of this meeting is if you saw the Star Wars movie number one, not the first one that played, but in the series number one, where Princess Amidala goes to Trantor and she's complaining to all the representatives, from all over the galaxy, they're invading our world, we need help. I was in a meeting like that. What
Hmm.
I saw is I saw this huge room with all kinds of beings there, and I can't even remember what they look like. I could just feel their presence. Okay. And there was like a 3D, like we were in a movie theater almost, a 3D screen. And what they were discussing, and this is the reason I had to be there, is how to help their brothers and sisters on planet Earth, because we have a big mess going on there. And I believe that the reason that we have this big mess is because humanity has had an interference from certain galactic races, which the UFO whistleblowers have talked about, whether they're reptilians or grays or different ones. They've come here to try to take over the world, and they have a certain group of humans they work with. So these were, let's say, nice. I call them galactics. They love us. We are their family because they understand that truth I said in the beginning. We are all one. We are all part of the same family. But because they don't live here, they can make whatever plans they want, but how will humanity respond? Because some people, have been brought up that, let's say, for example, if a galactic comes, even if they're a positive one, they want to come and help us. People will run away in fear because it's too strange for them, or they see all these movies that always depict them as invaders. And what I'm saying is the ones that I was talking to, they were not invaders. They wanted to help us, but they had to have feedback from human beings. Okay. Like if they came up with an idea, how are they going to help us? How are they going to bring peace to our world? They
Okay, let me
can't
ask
do
you,
it without feedback from a human being. Okay. Because we live here, we know how people are going to respond.
let me ask you something, Josh. I mean, you talk about UFOs and aliens, and where do they come from? Are they from outer space?
Well, if you believe in flat earth, which I talked about, then I would have a different answer for you.
No, no,
If you don't believe in flat earth, then you would say they come from outer space.
Okay, so
dude,
I
we
have I
we
have a
have literally. I'm gonna have to cut in because I missed the first show. We have literally launched rockets with just regular citizens on them. They have looked at the planet. They've taken pictures of the planet.
I
It's a
could show you.
sphere.
I could show you a video where the not the professional, I forget what you call it, the amateur, launched a rocket with a camera on it, and it stopped at 73 miles up and just
And
hung up there.
there's places I visited where I could
Very
literally
wide.
see
What?
the curvature of the Earth.
Yeah.
Like
Okay, well, we have to agree to disagree on this.
we
Okay,
will.
so for your answer, Richard will say yes, they're from outer space,
okay,
or
my
from other universes, or from other dimensions, because there are some whistleblowers who say they've met galactics who come from other dimensions.
And now,
too.
and I've not said that there's no aliens. There could be. There
Right.
could be. It's possible. Now, granted, as an atheist, I tend to not believe in anything, but I do leave the door open to possibilities because the universe itself is so expansive. It's huge. It's massive. So, yeah, there could be more. But to say that our planet is flat, even though we have sailed around it numerous times, we've launched above it numerous times, we've seen the thing. We know what it is.
You know,
It's got a fireball in the middle of
right.
it. It's big. It's
Right. You want to
round.
say we agreed to disagree because I could talk for 4 hours about how that may not be true. We want to focus on paranormal.
Let's do
Okay,
that.
but I'm
Um,
just answering Richard's question depending upon where a person is considering it. So we could say from outer space or another dimension. We have dimensional doors on our world like Bermuda Triangle. And I think there are stargates too, like the Stargate series shows.
I love
us.
that show. I love
Yeah.
that show, and I really
Okay,
hope that
so
that's
getting
true.
back to my experience.
Well,
Okay,
I do have a question.
okay,
Okay,
ask your question.
talking about aliens and such. My this is going to sound so juvenile, and of course it would come from me. Do they really do anal probes?
Oh,
I've-
good question.
I have no idea. You would
Okay.
have to ask them. You would have to ask them.
Well, I mean, I'm not the one that's communicating with them. I don't have that. I'm not cool like that.
Well,
So
all I can
that's why
say
I'm
is
wondering.
the ones I talk to, it's like, what kind of question is that?
Yeah, I'm sure. Is
But
it
there could be some who are
respectful?
not so advanced. Maybe they do that. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe these gray aliens do that. I don't know.
All right. Quick comment coming in from Carl Meadows. Flat Earth theory is all confirmation bias. Information is distorted by flat earthers to fit the belief system as a refusal to accept actual science. There's zero credibility in any flat earth theory. That's from Carl Meadows.
Right. And that's
And
what,
he's in the UK.
right. And
And
that's what,
this
Thanks, Carl.
is from Jeff.
Hi, Carl.
right. And that's what
Yes.
the people say, exactly what he says, that don't believe it could be possible. So again, Carl, we agreed to disagree, but I thank you for sharing your comment because we're not here to debate that.
Nope.
Okay,
Okay,
I'm
so-
sorry,
so-
Joshua.
Not a
I
fight.
didn't mean to interrupt you when
Yeah,
you were
no,
trying
it's
to
okay.
finish. But
It's okay when you have 3 other people, there's bound to be questions that are going to come up. So,
yes.
okay, so going back to my experience, because there's still a little bit part of it. So what I remember, okay, again, cannot prove it, but this is, I think, one of the most powerful experiences I've had, is that they were discussing exactly how they could help humanity to see total world peace, okay? But they needed the feedback from humans, and I wasn't the only human there. I think there were other people that were taken similarly that agreed to come to help. So what this means on some level is somewhere in my consciousness is the total memory of everything I saw and experienced at that meeting. However, when I went to the door to come back to the earth, come back to my physical body, I was told, we have to blank your memory. You can't be allowed to remember everything. However, there is one condition that will come up for you, is when these things that you saw start happening and you're present, you'll know whether they're true or not, because you have seen all of it before. So like, we can say COVID. Can we say COVID?
Yeah, COVID's good.
COVID's
Yeah,
good.
I had it. It's not fun. Hated
Okay,
it.
so when COVID came up and they start talking about hundreds of thousands, millions of people who had it, I knew that those numbers were way off. They were not correct. And, so that's another debatable issue that we could have, which everybody has to decide what they think about it or not. But I just knew, like in 2020, when they announced it in the United States and they start talking about it, something felt off. And then the other thing that came to me is I had an opportunity to watch these Chinese people. I think they were in Wuhan, where supposedly this started. They were showing on their
Got the
phone.
Wuhan virus.
Right. They were showing on their phone all these people getting sick and being taken to the hospital and everything. Wuhan also is known as the first city that turned on the 5G. So something said to me as I'm watching their video, the Chinese vaccinated their people before they turned on the 5G. And this is the reason so many people got sick. So can't prove that, but that's what I heard.
All right, well, stepping back real quick, we have a question from Dungeon Dan Ubell, And
It's
by the
actually a
way,
really good question.
Dungeon Dan, separate Dungeon from Dan. Damn it, it's getting on my nerves reading it that way. In the spirit of looking at all possibilities, how do you know what you experienced wasn't simply the neurons in your brain firing off what you saw and affecting your nervous system, causing your body to spasm?
Can't answer that question. You could be absolutely correct. That's why I said there's no way to prove the experience that I'm sharing with you. However, for myself, when I look at this repeatedly and I go into it, it seems very real to me. So I can only say, as a human being,
Mhm.
this is my experience. I do not expect everyone is going to agree with it.
Mhm.
But you asked me what was the most powerful one I had. This, I would say, would be
That
the
was
most
it.
powerful one for
Hmm.
me.
Let me ask you this. Have you ever had any paranormal experiences when you were wide awake, not in a coma, not asleep, not dreaming, wide awake and saw it for your own eyes?
Yes. That would be probably with some UFOs. I would call the manifestation of a UFO in our reality would be paranormal also, because many of these beings that are coming, they may not exist in our physical reality. So I'm going to take you to Peru for that one, okay? Because you're asking me for an experience I saw in front of my face.
Hmm.
So um, I think I talked about just very briefly in the last one that there's this blue skull that I've been looking for. And
Yes.
again, it's the same
Yes.
thing. I have a vision of. I see it. I see it right here for myself. It's actually off my left side, even though the video camera is reversed, and it's above my head. But nobody else can see it. But I see it there in my mind's eye. So, but when I went to Peru to look for this blue skull, I was guided, like you said, you had an intuition, a feeling you had to do something. I was guided to this mountain high up in the northern part of Peru by, let's see if I can remember it. This is the worst thing of getting old is your memory
Yeah,
goes.
trust me, I
It's,
know the
I
gray in my
feel it.
beard.
yeah. So where this mountain existed, there was a lake, and I can't remember the name of the lake. The Black Lagoon. At least I remember that. I don't remember the city that it's close to up in the mountains of Peru, but the lake is called the Black Lagoon, and it's in Spanish. So I brought some camping gear, and this was not the first time I've been there. I think this was my second time. And what we did is we did a meditation for world peace, and it was in an area near the lake where there was like this circle of stones. Like the first time I went, I felt drawn there, and I felt like during the time of Lemuria, again, this is a paranormal experience. I'm seeing in my inner vision that there was this temple during Lemuria, which must have been thousands of years ago, and there were crystal skulls in this temple. So I felt drawn to go back to this area where there was the circle of stones, and we did this meditation for world peace. And after we finished the meditation, there was a cloud in the sky that we could all see that looked exactly like a UFO, like, the type that has the dome on it and circular. It had exactly that shape. And it only stayed in the sky for maybe half a minute or a minute, because when I looked back, it was completely gone. And everybody saw that cloud. So it was an experience I had where there wasn't somebody else, and we all saw it. And of course, I've been drawn in my travels around the world to different places where I've seen other clouds that do this kind of thing, where they either they have the shape of a UFO, or because of my gift, my sensitivity to vibrational frequencies and energy, I feel like the cloud's not empty. There's something inside of it. The place that I saw the most of these type of clouds at one time stacked on top of each other was in Las Vegas. When I lived in Las Vegas, there was like 6 or 8 of them. Now, some people say this may be because Las Vegas isn't far from Area 51, where purportedly, you know, they have a lot of crashed UFOs that they're experimenting with or creating their own there or whatever using technology. Robert Lazar talks about working there. So again, we have all these kind of stories, but that's the place where I saw it. So that would be what I would consider an experience that I had. I was fully present, and there was this crazy cloud that looked like a UFO directly ahead of me with other people.
All right. Well, got a question from Jeff Thompson. I got him up on the screen there. But isn't a UFO by definition an unidentified flying object? Just because we don't know what it does not mean there's a paranormal experience for it or explanation for it.
Right. So I would say to Jeff, if it is a physical object in our physical reality, then you're correct. If it's there, you can touch it. Like I was just listening to one of the military persons who went to Rendlesham in England. There was a UFO case
Yes.
where the UFO appeared and he was talking to this guy and he could touch it and everything. So
Mhm.
that would not be paranormal. I called it paranormal because if it was in the cloud, then it just disappeared. It completely disappeared. Where did it go? Did it have a cloaking device on it, or did it go into another dimension? So it's an interpretation. Now, if that one isn't satisfactory, I could probably think of another paranormal experiment I had where I was awake. But the problem is that no one else would be there, and this would be a communication that I'm having with a spirit that's around me. So is that a good one to talk about? Would that be
Sure.
acceptable? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have to think which one of the many, because they talk to me all the time.
Oh, and
Let's
just
see.
to let you know, man, you're in a safe zone. Now we're going to be critical, but no,
No,
you're in a safe
I don't
zone, man.
care.
Fucking have at it.
Mhm.
I'm just trying to answer the question and just say, hey, I'm just a regular person and I'm having different experiences.
Yep.
Okay. So this is the one I would go with. This was very profound. So one day while I was here, not in this room, because we just moved in this room, but another room in this house, I was thinking to myself, why would Creator be concerned about each of us? Because compared to the enormity of the universes that exist, we are so tiny and insignificant. Why would Creator be concerned about us? And I got an answer telepathically.
Hmm.
So you want to hear what the answer was? The answer was
Absolutely.
okay. So the answer was, now this goes back to my initial definition that I was talking about in the beginning. This is the only way I can, but here was the answer. The answer was, and I have to think about it because it came really fast and I understand it, but I have to say it totally correctly. It's because of your unique experiences. That was the answer. Now, what does that mean? Your unique experiences. Well,
Those special moments, man. I
right.
can relate to that.
Okay. So if we are an aspect of Creator, okay, and even if there are parallel Earths where there are other us's, like in what was the name of that science fiction show they had where
Well,
they kept
hell,
jumping?
Marvel, the freaking Avengers movies. Hell,
Oh
they
yeah, well
jumped
that
through
one show
time.
they
They had
put
the multiverse, and then Doctor
right.
Strange.
Sliders was the other show
Ah, even
that came
older.
up too, where they kept jumping and occasionally they would meet their other aspects of themselves. But every unique aspect of ourselves is going to make a different decision, is going to live in a different way. So what the message was is that through who you are, you have unique experiences which will never ever happen again. And that is what I receive. Whether you think that experience is wonderful and marvelous and unbelievable or the most horrific experience you've ever had, it is the unique experiences. That is what I receive. Okay. So that's the only time I've ever felt that I had a connection with something that was connected to Creator because it made perfect sense to me. So
Okay.
what? So there's one other thing before you ask Jack. One other
Mhm.
thing it's saying, the message is saying, is you never will make a mistake. We might think we make a mistake, but everything you do is to grow and learn and to experience. So you're not making a mistake. Like if you do something that doesn't work out, well, gee, you get a chance to try again. Now, if you want to keep hitting your head and doing it over and over and over again, you can do that too. But eventually you might get it. Like somebody who's an addict, everybody tells them, hey, you got to stop or you're going to throw your life away. There may come a point in time where they have no place to live. They're all by themselves. And suddenly they wake up and say, hey, I better make a change. I better do it differently. So Creator has infinite patience with all of us. So that I would say would be a very powerful, for me, paranormal, because I'm having a communication with an intelligence that I cannot see, that I cannot physically touch, and yet it's talking with me.
Have you
Okay, so
only had positive communications with the spirits? Because I know a lot of people, and I think probably one of the reasons that Richard asked was because not all of his have been positive, and I know a lot of people who
no.
don't have positive interactions, and I guess that goes to, I don't know what exactly you would call those type of interactions with those types of spirits, but
Well, let
I'm sorry. Go ahead,
no
Jeff.
go no go ahead. No, finish what
I
you were
was
saying
just
because I'm
gonna
gonna add
say,
to it.
because a lot of people, you know, most people have had not positive interactions with spirits, and you're over here like, oh, life's great, everything's fabulous, I have amazing interactions with spirits, and everybody's like, that's not what the hell I've seen. So
Very bad interactions.
he had extremely terrible
Well,
interactions.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jeff.
and see now in my case, mine has been up, down, up, down, up, down. It's like we're nice, we stabbed you. We're nice,
Hmm.
we poked you. We're nice, we didn't. And it's like that's been my world.
Yeah, it seems like you have a lot of communication with them, whereas, I've had bad experiences, and I'm a witch, and I wholeheartedly, I'm aware of a lot of that stuff, and I believe you when you say you talk to the spirit. I understand that completely, but it just seems like you've had nothing but positive, which is grand and it's amazing and you're very fortunate. But is that all you've had? You've never had a terrible experience?
No, there's been certain instances where there have been, like, for example, I remember one time I was in Holland and I was working on writing for the publisher, the Crystal Skull book. And in the corner of the room, there was a negative presence. And in a time of weakness, it started to affect me. And I
Okay,
felt
now
myself,
what was it and why was it?
well, I don't know what it was. See, each of us have our own, I would call it a spiritual gift, an inner gift, whatever you want to say. And vision is not my strongest. Okay. Like
Mm,
when I'm talking about that meeting, I kind of feel like what was going on and I have a vision in my head, but I can't tell you, like what colors, what did the beings look like? It's not my gift. But if there is a spirit around, I will pick it up and feel it, and I might hear it, but I'm not going to see it. So
mm,
what I'm saying is, in this instance, I could feel in that corner of the room where I was working, there was a not so nice energy. Now it could be because the people that had lived in that house before, were drug addicts, or they had a death, or some terrible things could have happened, and that part of the room was not cleared out. So part of what happens in our world is we have positive and we have not so nice spirits that can be around us. And that's part of the reason why I think that we see on the earth the same thing outside of ourselves, beyond the paranormal. We see people starting wars and killing each other and doing horrendous things. And we see people who are like angels that are doing positive things. Our world has both frequencies of energy. So the real question you should be asking me is, why am I not more affected by the negative energy? Because at times I will. Now, I did have an interesting experience happen to me yesterday, which was not a nice experience. And it may explain why I had to go to sleep early, because normally I don't go to sleep till 10 or 11 o'clock. I went to sleep at 8:30 according to
yeah, that's about
Trina.
my normal time. I'm
All
done
right.
by then, but I'm up at like 5:30 in the morning.
Right.
So it's
And
like,
what I was feeling yesterday was something was interfering with my focus. Like I had every day, I have certain things that I do, whether it's playing my game or answering emails or writing something or whatever. But there was definitely an energy that was trying to interfere with my focus. And when I went into it, it felt like it has to do with what is happening behind the scenes in our world. There is a war that is going on right now. It's the light versus the dark. That's the only way I know how to explain it. And something really intense happened yesterday. and I was just experiencing it, and it was just interfering with my focus. Okay. So why would one person have less of trouble with, let's call them, what should we call them? Confused spirits, spirits that feed off of negative emotions versus someone who doesn't.
I
It has to do with where you are in two ways. Are you in a peaceful state? Or are the experiences you're having in your life causing a lot of emotion and instability to come up, where you're pulled or you're angry or you're upset?
Well,
Because what
that's
I,
that one's in that's that one and that one. Those two over there.
right,
Now, me on the other hand, I'm kind of over here this over the other place where I've been getting written into books, having a good time, like freaking golden. But my big thing is how sensitive is this thing that we can touch? Because you're touching it. I assume we can if we can start getting on the right wavelength. How sensitive is it? Like the slightest thought, could that cause something to just ripple effect and wreck everything?
what has been explained to me is we have an aura. We have this energy field around us, which I think they have cameras that are able to see the aura.
Mhm.
And what they've looked at with the aura is putting people through different emotional states. How does it affect the colors of the aura? So the way I would describe this is when you're angry, if they were to photograph your aura, they would see probably an ugly brown or red in the aura. That represents a hole in your aura. Okay. If that hole comes and there's a confused entity or spirit or something that's trying to feed off the negativity, oh, there's a hole in that person. I'm going to go take what I can get.
So
Okay.
now is that where chakra comes in? Where they like go with like a needle or whatever down your body, then they find a hole and the
Well,
needle
they
gets
Chakra
to
is
find the
something
wiggling
energy
completely
and
part
different.
in the heart, solar plexus, etc.
Chakra is
Yeah.
completely different. Your aura is what is
Well, they're
the
around
connected.
energy.
you.
They're
It
connected. There are two energy systems that are connected.
Ah,
I think they're connected.
okay.
Because the chakras will be affected too by your mental state and your emotion. Okay, so it's an energy system. Okay, so why do I have less? Well, maybe it's because I'm an Aries.
I'm an Aries. What's
Okay,
your
and
birthday? What's your birthday?
April 17th. So I'm a,
16th.
okay, so we're close.
Yep.
So as an Aries, there is a fire inside of me that says, if I don't know how do I say, if there is anything that is around me that is not here for my highest good, I will convert you into the light. Now that's a pretty, I'm saying that pretty powerfully and forcefully, okay? Because I know that nothing can exist without Creator's light. Okay, without Creator's light, nothing exists. And I believe that even in the darkness, at the very center of the darkness is Creator's light. Otherwise, it cannot exist. Okay, so this is some concept that's come to me. So when I feel that around me, I don't go, "Oh, get away! I'm afraid." I look at it right away and I say, "I'm changing you into the light. You can be here. You have free will to be here, but my job is to change you into God's light. Do you still want to be here?" So this is the attitude that I take, but this is partly because I'm a fire sign,
Mm-hmm.
and this is what drives some people crazy why they love me or hate me. It's because, I get pretty intense about things sometimes.
Well,
Although
see,
I
that's
think
where I totally agree with you on that because being a fellow Aries, I get cranked about things. But like
right,
on this particular subject, we are on totally opposite, sides of the pendulum on this as it
right,
swings. But it's fun to be able to have the conversation, to be able to talk it out, and just
right. So
kind
this
of
is
see how
just
these people believe.
right. So this is just a system that I use. But I found, like, for example, when I went to Mexico City and I was dealing with crystal skulls, there were some crystal skulls that did not have good energies with them. Okay. It was like they were around man's inhumanity to man. Like they said the Mayans or the Aztecs would do sacrifices and take people's hearts out and put the skulls inside of them. and I got overwhelmed by that energy, and I actually had to have a spiritual heal help me. But in general, usually things are fairly calm and peaceful, and I can only interpret it because my what I'm thinking about, what I'm expecting, etc. I just expect good things will happen. And if challenges come up, I'm ready to deal with those challenges. Now, sometimes I can deal with it right away and I'm done with it, which is what fire is about. We want to get it over with and get on to the next thing. And sometimes I might just say, I just don't want to deal with it right now, but I'll come back to it when I'm ready. So this is kind of my interpretation about that. So does that mean that if you're troubled by these spirits, you're a bad person? No, it just means that occasionally there could be a hole in your aura and they say, wow, I'm going to come through and I'm going to feed off that energy. So the key is to strengthen your spiritual gifts, your natural gifts inside is, and also too, the most powerful energy that exists is the vibration of love. Okay, now we all might say, yeah, I agree with that. That's true. But can you feel what that vibration is in your heart? Okay, that's an inner experience. So this may be another way that I deal with the energy around is I just go into the energy of the heart and I put pink all over and I say I love you, and if you want to stay in this love you can stay here, but to stay in that love you must become that love.
But wait, pink? You really
Pink,
picked pink?
pink is a vibration of love. Yeah,
Really? That's a
really.
because like see for me, when I envision like I call them the neutral colors. You know,
Okay,
the black, the gray, the brown. You know, those colors are my comfort colors. Those are
right,
the ones I feel more wrapped up in. But
right.
like pink, no, pink
Well,
doesn't do
I'm just
anything for me.
saying that for a lot of people, pink is the color of the vibration of love because it represents the heart. They feel that. But
Huh.
everybody's different. Remember, Jack, I said we're all unique.
Yes, we
So,
are.
so we have to honor that for you, it doesn't work with pink. Okay.
Mm-mm.
It's the same thing like a crystal skull. There are certain people I'll share it with, they love it, they feel tremendous energy, and other people go, get that away from me. I want nothing to do with it. I don't like what I'm feeling. I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah,
So it's
see, and my
personal.
thing is even on the Crystal Skulls thing, it ain't the X thing. It's like where the hell they at? Like I don't
Right. So you may
see
not
them. I
have an affinity for it. And there
apparently
are
not.
people I don't. But again, it goes back to what I said in the beginning that creators allowed us free will. And whatever path we decide to follow is perfectly fine. You know, you don't have to be a spiritual person. You can be totally involved in the physical reality and not believe that there are other dimensions, and you can have a happy life or you could have a difficult life. Or what's happening for a lot of people is all of a sudden some experience comes up and they can't explain it and they don't know why they had it. But when they start studying the paranormal, oh, now it's starting to make sense. This was another aspect of myself. I didn't even
Hmm.
know that existed. Like if you talk to people who are very creative, I'm a creative person. I can't tell you where these songs come from that I make up on the guitar. I just start hearing them. Where is it from?
Okay,
I
now
don't
hey,
know.
let me ask you this. This is a totally silly question, but I have a bad habit of doing this, and so I'm just curious to make sure I'm not the only one that does it. Do you ever hear radio jingles on, like for local companies or whatever, and it's just like a terrible jingle, and so you change the words, and you make the jingle your own? Do you ever do that?
No, I wouldn't do that, but I might do that with another with a song
Okay,
like Asha Bell's Canon, for example. It has no words. It's just music.
so you
But
add the words.
right, well, uh, the experience I had with that was I was meditating with a crystal skull in a crop circle in England, and I
Uh
put on the headphones, Pasha Bell's Canon. I start singing with it, and I was singing words with it. Okay.
huh.
But I
Now, do
don't
you feel
remember
like
what
that
those words were.
was that being brought out of you? Do you think like they
I was in
needed you
a
to sing it?
I was in a tremendous energy field, so I have no idea what I was doing. I was out of my head during that experience. It was
Nice.
it was another paranormal experience. There was an energy field I could feel around me, and the crystal skull changed the electromagnetic frequency at the center of the crop circle once we put them in after the meditation. Well, that was pretty remarkable too. So what I'm trying to say is we're each individuals and we have certain experiences that we have, which we're going to interpret those experiences in our own way. So like for example, The one person asked me, could it be, you weren't really there at this meeting, that this was totally physical? Yes, I have to say to him, yes, it's possible, but it doesn't feel right to me. When I go into the memory of it, I know I was there, but I can't, it wasn't like I was somewhere where I could bring something back and say, here, I was at this meeting and here's this glass that was there. Okay. I wasn't in a dimension I could bring something back. So we'll find out eventually in the future if that experience really happened, because what I keep hearing is 2037 to 2040, the planet we live on, it'll be totally peace and harmony. And
Huh.
I can't explain to you what events are going to happen to bring us there. It's just a knowing I
The
have.
apocalypse, maybe, because most of these people just suck.
Yep.
Right. Well,
It just
but if you follow what's being said on Telegram, the people who you called that are sucking are being taken away and being replaced
I
by
could only
actors,
hope that
by
there was such a
people with money.
program.
Yes, and they may not, and they may be playing a role for a more positive future, so that you will say, oh, like Biden, like many people say, I've heard two things on Biden, that that's not really him, or I don't know if it was his daughter or a relative of his said that's his twin that's playing him. And
No,
then I've heard actors.
he's senile, and yeah, no.
Well, see, again, we have to agree to disagree. The reason why I don't believe it's the Biden is I went back to a talk he gave when he was much younger, and the sound of his voice, usually, even if you get older, your voice is still going to sound almost similar. Sounds nothing like the younger Biden, the one that we keep hearing. And plus, there's something about his ears too that's not consistent. But again,
Ah,
there are so many different theories about what's happening. You have to go with the one that resonates for you the most. And it's the same thing with what I'm telling you. Some of the things I'm experiencing, maybe they make sense to you, maybe they don't. But you're asking me to share, and I have to be honest and truthful.
Mhm.
This is what I experienced. So,
Of course.
exactly.
Well, thanks for sharing those experiences. It's about time we're coming
yep.
towards the end of the show.
Yeah,
We have
unfortunately,
come.
we had to break. We had to shut it down early because both Richard and I have some things going on as far as moving and
So, can I say
housewarming.
some contact information then? We're
Well,
finishing
yeah.
up.
Jack's gonna get
Yep.
to it.
Yep. 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 You got to slow down. Everybody, slow down. Let me get back control of this situation. Hold, I may have to grab the damn conductor's hat before
You
this is
might
over
need the
with.
conductor hat right now.
What the hell? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of another episode of the Written Undead podcast. Once again, me, Jack Childress, Rich Ryan Rose, Jennifer Amato have had a great time hanging out with our guest this week, Joshua Shapiro, breaking things down for you on the flat earth, the round earth, the what the. We're just talking about everything here, everybody. That's what we do. Maybe country, but we intelligent too. Now, I like to end the show as I always do with a very simple Richard Ryan Rose. Where can everybody find you?
You can find me on my Facebook page at Richard R. Rose Author and richardrrose.com, my website, and Amazon, Goodreads, and iTunes and Audible. And next month, October 14th to the 16th, I'll be there at the Texas Bigfoot Conference. So show up.
Ooh,
Already bought my book. Bring it with you. I'll sign it for free.
damn Skippy. Now, here's where I get to go into traitorous mode. Former super fan, now author, Jennifer Amato. Where can everybody find you?
Well, Jack, Salty Jack, you can find me on Amazon. My book, The Group, Jana, is out for pre-order. You can find me on Facebook at Jen Amato Author. That's JENN Amato Author. And you can also find me on the interwebs, JenAmatoAuthor.net. So definitely check me out. Check me out.
Yes, I am. I well, I hadn't done this in a long, long time, but I'm going to throw a little cheap plug in here.
Hold on, I gotta say, you don't no problem, James Dean. Thank you so much.
We love us some James Dean around these
I
parts.
do love me some James Dean.
But our good friend Cal Brett,
Yes, congratulations, Cal.
recent addition to the Written Undead Featured Authors Group, has sent me book 1. He is getting hung in the morning. He was supposed to get hung today, but Jack got lazy. I ain't gonna lie. But he is framed. He is in his pretty spot. So he will be hitting the wall tomorrow. Now, our special guest today, our crazy person incognitus, the one and only Joshua Shapiro. Where can everybody find you, dude?
Okay, email address crystalskullexplorers@gmail.com. If you are interested in getting any of the 6 free ebooks, which Crystal Skulls, Tartaria, Flat Earth, the experience I talked to you about is in Messages from Argus. So I have a whole bunch of those. Send me an email and just say you were on the show, you want the ebooks, and I will send them to you.
Nice.
Website cse.crystalskullexplorers.com. Mostly focused on crystal skulls, but again, that's a way to find me. Or you can look for me on Facebook too. I don't remember what my Facebook page is, but Joshua Shapiro, you should find me. There's not too many of us out there. So those would be the 2 things, and happy to discuss anything with you via email that I brought up. If you want to get into debate or whatever, feel free. We learn from each other. So very happy
Damn
to
right.
receive it.
Yes.
So I want to thank all of you for having me on your show a second time. And hopefully there was some interesting information I was able to give in addition to what we discussed the first time.
Matt, you definitely threw out opposite opinions on things. There's a conversation to be had. Let's just say,
Definitely.
it's like, okay, wait a minute. You said this, but nah. Yeah, there's plenty of that with what you brought here today. And we thank you so much for being on the show. For Richard Ron Rose, for Jennifer Amato, my potato, my freaking awesome friend, and Joshua Shapiro, the guest of the week. This has been the Written Undead Podcast. We are